Hi friends, have you ever gotten to a point in your life where you're asking yourself, what is my purpose in life? Or maybe, what will I be doing 20 years from now? And am I doing the things I should be now to get there, to get where I want to go? Maybe it's just a season of change in your life where you're transitioning from one phase to another. You know, you're graduating or you're moving on or your kids are moving out of the house and you're just wondering, what's the next step? Where is this transition taking me? I think for me it happens about once a year, usually around the beginning of the year. I kind of assess and ask myself, am I going where I need to be going? And it was always sort of a depressing exercise because I would feel like I didn't really have the answer, and year to year our situation would change pretty drastically, and I just think, how am I ever going to make any headway? I don't even know what I want to be doing 20 years from now. Where do I even start? And my big aha moment was realizing that life is about maturing. It's about growing from where you are now to where you need to go. And the answer to where you need to go is figuring out what it is that God's gifted you with. What are you skilled in? What is it that you need to mature in as the individual that He's created you? Now, we all have areas that we need to grow in as human beings and as Christians, as moms, as dads, as husbands, as wives. But there's also going to be specific areas that we need to grow in based on the skills that He's given us and the weaknesses that can come with those. So knowing where you're at, knowing where you're going, and then figuring out those next steps you need to take to get there are a key part of understanding your purpose and your calling in life. And I used to think that it had to be something really big and monumental, and it just felt really overwhelming and daunting. But breaking it down to these smaller steps really helped me, and each year I've been able to measure myself by those things and to actually see the growth and the progress. So I want to break this up into 3 parts, and the first part is going to be understanding where you're at. And I know that in the past when I would do these, I'd get kind of lost in the mix of like, okay, so here's who I am, here's where I'm at, but not knowing how to transition that into where I was trying to go. So in order to do the self-assessment, I've kind of broken it into 3 main categories that I hope will help you get a really good assessment of yourself. And of course, there's a lot of tests and personality things out there that you can take to get more insights and more information that might help you with this process. But I think just asking yourself these questions can be a great starting point. So the first question is, who are you? And here you're just going to jot down all of your roles. It could just be basic facts. 35 years old, wife, mother, daughter, sibling, employee, mentor, teacher, friend, all of those kinds of roles and relationships that you find yourself in. The who are you? And then the next question is, what are you good at? What do you enjoy? What appeals to you? What comes naturally to you? What are your skills and gifts? That's typically what we look at when we answer this question. It can also be helpful to look at, though, what can't you stand doing? What are the things that you really hate, that you avoid, that just the thought of makes you want to run away? And then another nuanced question that you could ask yourself under this same heading is, what would I improve in if I were given the opportunities? And this can be insightful because you might be really good at painting, but you realize if you could improve in your color theory, your painting would get even better. So you might find yourself often thinking about these other areas that you'd like to improve in. Maybe you're not great at them, but you have an interest in it and an interest to improve in it. Obviously, there's going to be those areas where we have a gift, but we need to work on other things to make that gift stronger. So I think kind of looking at those 3 parts, what you can't stand, what you'd like to improve in, and then the things that you're naturally good at will help you get a better picture of what it is you're actually good at. And then the third question to ask yourself in this self-assessment is, what are my current barriers, those hurdles, those limitations and restrictions that I need to overcome or that seem to be holding me back right now? Those could be things like fear of making mistakes, fear of the unknown, and fear of missing out, which we talked about in another video. It could also be hurdles or restrictions that you're facing right now, like dietary restrictions, budget restrictions, cultural restrictions, or even just you've moved, you're trying to orient yourself to a new situation. And so anything that's kind of causing friction or things that are making life a little bit more difficult than they would be normally. And then the things that are frustrating you in your life right now. So under this, there could be quite a few things that you're listing out, things that are both internal, like your fears, things that are more situational, like a new diet or a new lifestyle, and then anything and everything between that. So in this, you're looking at the things in life that just aren't where they should be or where you would like them to be. So there's 3 things to keep in mind as you're doing this assessment, 3 things that you don't want to do while you're making your list. Number 1, don't start problem solving. There will probably be a temptation as you write this out to think, well, if I just did this, I could get better at this. But you don't want to start implementing or trying to improve areas when you don't even know where you're going yet, and if that's even something that's worth putting the time and effort into. So don't start problem solving. Also, don't make excuses. So as you're writing these things out, the things that you're not good at, the areas of frustration, your weaknesses, don't make excuses for those things. Just be honest with yourself and write them out as they are. And then last, don't get defeated, because yes, you'll probably come up with a lot of insights to your skills and the things that you're naturally gifted in, but you're probably going to come up with a lot of things that you didn't even realize were bothering you, or that you were frustrated with yourself about, or even just areas where you realize, wow, that's a weakness, and yeah, that's been there for as long as I can remember. And it's just easy to get kind of defeated in this process of assessing where you're really at. But just remember that this scorecard is helping you to see what you're scoring yourself on now. The whole point, by the time we get to part 3, will be to say, is your scorecard even accurate? Because next we're going to be building the rubric, and then you're going to look back and say, okay, why was I even giving myself a score in this area? This has nothing to do with who I am or where I'm trying to go. And you can just kind of cross it off, and then it's not part of your scorecard anymore. And that makes a big difference, because I think sometimes we get really bogged down and plagued by these frustrations in life that we shouldn't even be worrying about or spending our time on. So don't get defeated. That's not the point of this exercise. There will probably be a lot of things that are discouraging, but parts 2 and 3 are going to help you clear some of that up.